Hello viewer, welcome back to the lecture series Satellite Communication. This is my 6th lecture. Today we will discuss about the orbital mechanics, Kepler's law of planetary motion. Orbital mechanics. A satellite is designated by its orbit. Depending upon the orbit designation, they are called GEO, LEO, MEO, MOLNIA, and all this. When a satellite rotates in a stable orbit, the centrifugal force due to the kinetic energy of the satellite is equal to the centripetal force due to the gravitational attraction of the planet. So the centrifugal force is counterbalanced by the centripetal force. Centripetal force is the gravitational force. Here, right at the center of the circular orbit, there is ME is the mass of the Earth, and the satellite is rotating in a circular path is assumed, and in case of the geostationary Earth orbit GEO, this is around the equator, so it is more or less is a circular one. The gravitational force of attraction is equal to G into ME multiplied by the mass of the satellite divided by the R square, where R is the distance of the satellite from the Earth's surface. G is the gravitational constant. M is the mass of the Earth. ME is the mass of the Earth. And M is mass of the satellite I mentioned. So outward centrifugal force is equal to, which is pulling outside from the Earth's surface. That is mv square by R. V is the velocity of the satellite. We will do the time period calculation, how much time one satellite takes to complete a revolution, that we will calculate out. For a stable satellite, that orbit is not changing and it is moving smoothly in a controlled manner. So the centripetal force equal to centrifugal force. So mv square by R is equal to G MEM by R square. From there, one can calculate velocity is equal to square root of mu by R. What is mu? Mu is the Kepler constant. Mu is the Kepler constant. Mu is equal to capital G multiplied by ME. ME is the mass of the Earth. So gravitational constant multiplied by the mass of the Earth is the Kepler constant. Considering the orbit is circular, here we have considered, as I told you, it is if it is GEO, the orbit is more or less circular, and the distance traveled by satellite in one orbital revolution equal to twice pi r. So the period of the satellite t is equal to twice pi r divided by v, velocity of the satellite is equal to twice pi r divided by square root of mu by r equal to 2 pi r to the power 3 by 2 divided by mu to the power half. Average radius of Earth is equal to 6378.137 kilometers. So one can compute it and get the revolution time of the satellite is the time period. So this is the about the dynamics when a satellite is moving in a stable trajectory, in a stable orbit. That time centripetal force and centrifugal force are constant. Both are same. Both are identical, not same. Both are the value identical. So one force is counterbalancing the other force. Centripetal force equal to centrifugal force. By magnitude, they are same, but vectorially they are different in opposite direction. So the time period, it is the power of R 3/2. We have to keep it in mind. So it is more than 1.5. Kepler's law. Kepler kept three laws regarding the revolution of one body around the other body. The first law is the orbit of any smaller body rotating around a larger body. Here, larger body is the Earth, and the smaller body is the satellite. Is always an ellipse. It is not circle. With the center of mass of the larger body at one of its foci. So this Earth will be at one of the foci of the orbit of the satellite. That is the first law. So it will go on revolving, keeping Earth at one of its foci. So apogee is far off from the Earth and perigee is comparatively nearer to Earth. Second law, the orbit of the smaller body sweeps out equal area in equal time. That is, the aerial velocity is constant. The orbit of the smaller body sweeps out equal area in equal time. That is, the aerial velocity is constant. If we draw a radius vector, so this radius vector sweeps out some area in the apogee side and in the perigee side also. So it will be angle-wise will be different, but area-wise it will be the same. That is the aerial velocity per unit time. It sweeps out, the area is constant. Third law, the square of the period of revolution of a smaller body around a larger body equals to a constant multiplied by the third power of the semi-major axis of the orbital ellipse. That is t square equal to 4 into pi square a to the power 3 divided by mu. Mu is the Kepler constant. And A is the semi-major axis of the orbital ellipse. T is the time period. A, it is written here in uppercase, but it is actually in the formula it is lowercase. So there is a difference, is a typing error. So the square of the period of the revolution of a smaller body around a larger body equals to a constant multiplied by the third power of the semi-major axis of the orbital ellipse. So A is the semi-major axis of the orbital ellipse. So these are three Kepler's law. First one is the larger body should be kept at the one of its foci and it will be revolving in an elliptical path. Second is the aerial velocity will be constant all the time. And third law is regarding the time of revolution in the time period. That is the a to the power 3 proportional to t square is proportional to a to the power 3. And the constant factor is 4 pi square by b. Earth coverage calculation. In the figure it is visible, the satellite is at the top and the shuttle is representing the Earth's surface. So by the law of sine, one can calculate out Rs by sine rho is equal to d by sine delta. And rho is equal to 90 plus theta. The elevation angle is approximately cos theta. So that is Rs sine delta by d. This is from the law of sine. The elevation angle is approximately R sine delta by d. Average satellite altitude, that is this previous figure. Here is the alpha, delta, alpha, delta. Here is the alpha, delta, RE, RSat, RS, and RE is the radius of the Earth. RS is the distance, and D also is the distance from the outer surface of the Earth. RS is the distance from the center to the satellite. So one can calculate out alpha is equal to sine inverse RE by RSat and delta equal to sine inverse RSat by RE, sine of alpha minus alpha. It means this angle should be excluded from the sine inverse term. So A is equal to 2 pi RE square, radius of the Earth square, multiplied by 1 minus cos of delta. RSat is the radius of the satellite. So the total coverage area of the surface of the Earth using the previously calculated value of delta is given by the equation A is equal to 2 pi RE square multiplied by 1 minus cos of delta. This is the total coverage area of the surface of the Earth using the value of delta. So this is the area is exposed to the satellite. So satellite will see this area. This is a graph is showing the coverage area divided by the altitude. If the satellite is very high altitude, then this coverage area will be more. And if the altitude is less, coverage area will be less, and the visibility of the satellite from some Earth surface will be, the time of visibility will be much less. So from this particular figure, it is very much clear that the satellite which is far away from the Earth surface, like this geostationary orbit satellite, they are about 35,000 kilometers away from the Earth's surface. So they will see the major area of the Earth's surface. That's why 3 such satellites will cover the whole area of the globe. And all the time, someone is seeing one geostationary orbit satellite, GEO satellite. This is all about the motion of the satellite around the Earth, that is it's in its own orbit. Now is the satellite launching. This is a completely different topic. The GTO ACAM approach to geostationary orbit. This is the scheme is signifying here is an approach to place geostationary orbit satellite at its own orbit. Here the central point is the Earth center, and the concentric inner dotted circle is the representation of the Earth. The combined spacecraft and final rocket stage are placed into low Earth orbit. Initially, that is the nearest orbit. LEO is the nearest orbit. So the rocket stage is placed into low Earth orbit initially, before placing into the geostationary Earth orbit. After careful orbit determination measurement, the final stage is ignited in LEO and the spacecraft inserted into a transfer orbit. This is the elliptical one, is the transfer orbit. So the satellite was there initially in the LEO orbit, and the final stage, when it will be ignited, that time it will transfer its position from the LEO to the GEO through the geostationary transfer orbit, GTO orbit. And there, this is the transition orbit between the LEO and the GEO, but it is fully elliptical, and the Earth is right at one foci. The dot is at one foci. So the final stage is ignited in LEO, and the spacecraft inserted into a transfer orbit that lies between the LEO and the geostationary orbit altitude. The so-called geostationary transfer orbit, or GTO. Again, after more careful orbit determination, the apogee kick motor, that is the AKM, apogee kick motor is fired on the satellite, and the orbit is both circularized at geostationary altitude and the inclination reduced to close to 0. So this AKM apogee kick motor that provides that kick that is fired on the satellite, and the orbit becomes circular, as because the geostationary Earth orbit is circular, and the inclination also reduced to close to 0, because the geostationary Earth orbit, geostationary satellite, they circulates in the equatorial plane. The satellite is then GEO satellite. So it is just two-step process. First step is the satellite will be placed in the LEO, and through the transfer orbit, and with the help of final stage, the satellite is placed from the LEO to GEO following the transfer orbit, geostationary transfer orbit. And when it will arrive at GEO, that time apogee kick motor will fire, and it will keep the satellite in the plane of the equator. This is a scheme of satellite launching to the geostationary Earth orbit. Satellite launching from Earth to geostationary orbit, there is one more scheme which is very much useful. The slow orbiting raising to geostationary orbit is the scheme here. Initially the satellite arrived at the LEO orbit, and as before, the spacecraft is injected into GTO. But in this case, once the satellite is ejected from the final rocket stage, it deploys many of the elements that it will later use in GEO, and stabilizes its altitude using thrusters and momentum wheels. There was apogee kick motor. Here the machinery is being used in the GEO regularly. That is the thruster motor and momentum wheel. The higher power thrusters are then used around the apogee to raise the perigee of the orbit until the orbit is circular at the GEO altitude. As the orbit is being raised, the thruster firing will be designed gradually to reduce the inclination close to 0. So it will be placed in the equatorial plane finally. So it is a continuous process. There it was two-step process in the LEO, and then through the transfer orbit, it was reaching to the GEO, and then GEO planar adjustment was being done through the apogee kick motor. Here it is the LEO to GEO, the transfer orbit will be changing, and that change is carried out by the thruster and the momentum wheel. And when it will arrive in the geostationary Earth orbit, that time for the fine adjustment of the plane, rotational plane, the the fine adjustment is carried out by the thruster, and the orbit is being raised and perfectly matched with the GEO. Inclination will be 0 there. Typical tracking, telemetry, command and monitoring system. This is the mechanism by which a satellite is maintaining its correct position. So the signals are being communicated through Earth station to the satellite, and the satellite is confirming that command, and then the final command is given from the base station, from the Earth station, and the correction on the satellite to make up the deviation is carried out, and satellite gets its original position. So for that, there will be receiving antenna and transmitting antenna. Through the receiving antenna, the signal will be processed into two routes. One is going to the tracking system, another is telemetry receiver, data processor, and going to the main computer for altitude and orbital control. Orbital control computer, it is going to the computer for the altitude and the orbital control. Then from that computer, mainframe computer, that computer will generate a signal that will go to the transmitting antenna through the telecommand transmitter. And this computer will generate another signal which will go to the controller, and controller again, there will be the loop. It will correct it, and there will be several loops, so the controller will correct the signal and then send it to the telecommand transmitter. So these two telecommand transmitter, two input to the telecommand transmitter will be adjusted, and it transmits through the transmitting antenna to reach the satellite. So this signal will reach the satellite, and from satellite, the desired signal will be downloaded, and that will come through the receiving antenna, and the whole process will be repeated. So this is the process by which the satellite health will be maintained, satellite position, everything will be maintained by tracking, telemetry, command and monitoring system. So it is the bidirectional signals. Some signal and command is given to the satellite, and satellite act on that and send some other corrected signal. So that is getting processed and generate again signal from the computer, main computer, and that is again telecommand transmitter who will transmit that signal to reach the satellite. This is all about the tracking telemetry command and monitoring system. Here it is a just pictorial view of the thing over the globe at several places. So it is the maritime satellite. 6 GHz is the uplink frequency and 4 GHz is the downlink frequency, and 1.6 GHz uplink from ships. Then 1.5 GHz downlink to ships. So this is for the navigation in the maritime area. There will be very large antenna at some ship. That antenna will receive the signal and communicate it to the satellite. So it is the two-way thing. The signal is getting and it will retransmit. And the source station, the earth station, will get the signal and will come to know about the health of the ship and position of the ship, where it is. So this is a scheme of maritime satellite communication system. Onboard processing transponder, these are there in the satellite. There will be multiple antenna, multiple beam, uplink antenna, and multiple beam downlink antenna also there will be there. So receiver and transmitter both are there. Both are connected to modulator and demodulator, decoder and encoder. Then is the baseband processor. That is a digital processing system. OBP is the baseband processor, and that will transmit the signal through the uplink and downlink antenna, and the adjustment of the antenna also being carried out by this. This is the onboard processing transponder. So everything is done by gaining the information of the satellite. Several sensors are housed in the satellite in the redundancy model. The signal coming out from the satellite system, that is followed from the base station, earth station. But this is the onboard processing transponder. So it is connected with through microprocessor, computer, and microcontroller, and many things are there in it. Reliability. Reliability technique is a mathematical tool to get an idea about the probability of failure, causes of failure, and the expected lifetime. Because this several sensors and several gadgets and several transponders are working in the satellite in the redundancy mode. Even then, the quality checking before putting on board, these are felt essential. So some study it has been carried out. The probability of failure is high at the beginning due to burn-in, and at the time after which high at the end of life due to aging. So there are the major possibility during initial switching on, that is the burn-in condition. Sometimes it is called the soaking. And when it is aged, that time there will be the probability of failure. The RT is the reliability. It is defined as the number of surviving components at time t divided by number of components at the start of the test procedure. So it is NST divided by N0 is the initial number of components, and the after time t is the survival. The number of components that survives N0 minus NFT is the number of components surviving. Mean time between failure. What is the definition of mean time between failure? Mean time between failure, MTBF, is equal to M is equal to the summation of Ti. Ti represents the time after which the ith device fails, and N0 is the initial number of component at the start of the test procedure. So it is summation of Ti. Ith device when it has failed, the summation of starting from 0 to ith, 1 to ith. Average failure, that is lambda is equal to reciprocal of the mean time between failure. Average failure equal to reciprocal of the mean time between failure. In terms of reliability of subsystem, it can be written R is equal to e to the power minus lambda t, and this t of t is equal to 1 upon lambda, where t is the end of useful life. T is the end of useful life. So that is reciprocal to the average failure. So mean time between failure is very much important. That way it can predict that when the other devices will fail. In terms of reliability of the system, to judge the reliability of the system, mean time between failure figure is very much essential. And the nature of the failure is represented by the bathtub curve. This is the bathtub curve for probability of failure. So the probability is very high at the beginning, as I pointed out, and at the end of the life, when it is getting aged, that time the failure is more. Other than that, the failure rate is constant. That is very small failure. That is the probability is very less here. So this is called the bathtub for probability of failure. As the satellite is very much precious one, and tracing a satellite is very costly affair, that's why all the system are working in the redundant mode. So the redundancy connection of each devices and each gadget are configured there, and the redundancy process are categorized, something like this: the serial connection, then is the parallel connection of the devices, series parallel connection of the devices, and switched connection. There will be large number of devices, those are on board, but facility will be there just to switch them on and off. So that facility will be there. So it is the series connection, parallel connection, series parallel connection, then is the switched connection. Redundant WTA configuration in the high power amplifier of the 6-4 GHz bent pipe transponder. The initial stage is shown here, is the similar as we came across. That is the down converter is there through LNA, and 4 gigahertz conversion also has been carried out. And this 4 gigahertz LPA, this is the onboard transponder. So the redundancy is thought of there only in the satellite. So what is there? This 4 gigahertz low power amplifier is feeding power to high power amplifier, that is TWTA, traveling wave tube amplifier. Those two traveling wave tube amplifiers are configured in the parallel mode redundancy system, and the final output is connected to the downlink antenna, 4 gigahertz downlink antenna. So this thing is housed in this thing is on board, housed in the satellite system. So TWTA are there, they can operate in parallel. Thank you.